Hey guys, and welcome back to This Life We Live, where we are building our dream home from scratch. Because of our 2-year deadline set forth by our local township, we had to have the entire outside of our house contracted out so that we can get going working on the inside, finishing all the nitty-gritty stuff. We've got some amazing projects planned for the inside of this house. So if you guys are into barndos or modern houses of any sort, definitely gonna enjoy this next series. Let's go. You're probably wondering why there's no sounds of working along with this music. And the answer is that when I walked in the first morning, Erik had heavy metal going pretty strong. He was determined to get this done, and that was going to be his motivation. So I let him listen to his music and we got to work. It was 2 days before Christmas, and we were using every second of Erik's time off from work. We had just finished up the massive front wall getting drywalled, and we were pretty proud. But Erik was already jumping in on the next project, and that was the side gable wall. Unfortunately, in this house, we have a lot of angled walls. We only have a few flat walls, and this was our biggest angled wall, so he figured we'd get it out of the way. The goal was to have the entire wall done before Christmas, so we got to work. For this wall, we were once again going to be utilizing our shelving platforms where we crank the drywall up and set it down and then finagle it into place. But this time, Erik had one more trick up his sleeve. He wanted to make sure that these drywall pieces lined up perfectly with the big windows. So to make that happen, he put a board across the top that basically extended the window ledge all the way out. So we put the drywall into position so that it lined up perfectly with the window. And then we got to work putting pieces on the bottom and the top. It was a little bit backwards, but in the end it seemed to work out pretty good. Until we came to the angles. After an entire day of listening to heavy metal music, I convinced Erik that since it was Christmas time, maybe we could listen to some Christmas music. So I'll cue you up some Christmas music that's not copyrighted that you guys can get the feel of. This was our second gable wall, and this was our biggest. We had had a little bit of a taste of it when we were doing the last wall on the side of our office, but this was a massive gable wall, our biggest in the entire house, and we definitely were not going to procrastinate on it. Erik took it like a champ, and we got to work. It took a couple of days to get this entire wall done, mostly because those gable cuts at the very top, that pitch, was very difficult to get just right. Not only did you have to make sure that your drywall hit 2 studs, you also had to make sure that the angle and the pitch was just right. And you also had to make sure that you had enough nailer on all sides to be able to attach it. If you notice, we also covered over the basement right here. We did that earlier when we were doing the ceiling, and once again, we had to do it for the walls. But the supports, the plywood that we put over top of the basement right here, it was able to support not just 1, but 2 scaffolding sets, and that really allowed us to get in there safely and be able to get it done. And we did. This was probably the longest time, start to finish, that we had spent on a single wall. We started at 9 o'clock in the morning and we didn't finish until 8 o'clock at night, coming in once for lunch, and that was it. But the end result was we managed to get this entire wall done on Christmas Eve. Yep, it was 8, 9 o'clock at night, but we got it done. And those angles were a massive pain. They took a lot of time. Even though we know the angles, a lot of it was just making sure that you could hit a stud from front to back. Getting the angle wasn't too bad, but getting the angle and hitting a stud, that was a whole nother story. And not wanting to waste drywall pieces, well, you get the picture. That at least we managed to get the entire thing all done as a Christmas gift to us. And since Erik was getting mighty sick of doing drywall, we decided to take the weekend off, and here's a little bit of more recent footage of us going to the Grand Rapids New Home and Remodeling Show. We ended up getting there just a little bit early, and my son and his friend got to work exploring the area. They found a ballroom where random people would just randomly come out of it. And so they kept trying to push each other into it to try to see if they could figure out where the people were coming from. Finally, the show opened and we were able to get inside. I know you guys would have loved to see some of the vendors that were there, but the minute we hit the floor, the boys disappeared to go trick-or-treating. Erik disappeared to talk to random builders, and I ran off looking at everybody I could find for tile, interior design, and granite people. Those were the ones that I was really focusing on. Now, we ran into some really good vendors, and we'll see, maybe we'll utilize some of these people later on in the home build, so we'll get to show you some of the products that we found. Some of the products are really intriguing, and overall, between this show and the Home and Garden show that also happens, I think, in February, I think this show was the better one for us to attend. There were a lot more vendors that were what we were looking for. And then we found the boys playing pickleball on this interesting type of material that goes outside. And I might end up putting some of this out behind the house actually for the dogs, because I think it would make the perfect dog run for the dogs to come in the house so that they're not tracking a bunch of mud in. Overall, it was a great trip and well worth the time.
What do you have? Looks like you've been trick-or-treating.